I am Ashok Mishra, DGT Social Science in DM School Bhopal. Today we are going to learn class 7 geography chapter number 2 inside our earth, and you have read very well about solar system and our earth, our continent, ocean and so many other things in class 6. Now we are going to learn what is inside the earth. So today I am going to teach you and I am going to take you towards inside the earth and what is there inside the earth. It is a very interesting topic. Okay. So we start. So the earth, our homeland, is dynamic planet. It is constantly undergoing changes inside and outside. Have you ever wondered what lies in the interior of the earth? What is earth made up of? So this question generally comes to our mind. The earth is made up of several concentric layers with one inside another. You are seeing in the presentation that as you are seeing the layer of onion, similarly when we go inside the earth there are different layers and those layers have been given name. So we study about this in our next image. You can see very well in our presentation. There are three main layers. The first layer is called crust, and just below the crust, third one is called core. Core has also so many subdivisions: inner core, outer core, but dear students, we have to study mainly three things about three layers, the three names of the three layers. So what are those names? Just repeat with me. First is core, then when we start from the center, first is core, then come mantle and then crust. When we start from surface, crust, mantle and core. Okay? So you have to remember here one most important thing, and that is the crust forms only 1% of the volume of the earth, 84% consists of the mantle and 15% makes the core. We start our study with uppermost layer of the earth, and the uppermost layer of the earth is called crust. It is thinnest of all the layers. It is about 35 km on the continental masses and only 5 km on the ocean floor. So you can see in the image that there are two types of thickness difference. When we see continental portion, the thickness of the crust is 35 km, and when we see the thickness of crust where there is ocean, it is only 5. So when we want to study about crust, so this is the major difference of crust thickness in continental masses and in ocean floors. The main mineral constituents of the continental masses are silica and aluminum. So at first we read about thickness. Now we are studying about the mineral constituents of these parts. So as I told you before that crust is made up of continental masses and ocean. So the main mineral constituent of the continental mass are silica and aluminum, and it is called Sial. Sial, Si means silica and Al means aluminum. So you can see in the image the name of the constituent near the continental masses is Sial, and near the ocean it's Sima. You can see in the images. When we want to study about core and mantle, so we have to study some other things. Just beneath the crust is mantle, which extends up to a depth of 2900 km below the crust. So the thickness of crust is near continent 35 km, and after that there is 2900 km thickness of mantle is there. You have to remember this thing. The innermost layer is the core with a radius of about 3500 km. So the thickness of core is 3500 km. thickness of mantle is 2900 km. It is mainly made up of nickel and iron, and it is called Fe. Fe denotes or shows Ni and Fe. Ni means nickel and Fe means ferrous. The central core has very high temperature and pressure. So, you can see here the central core I have denoted here with Fe. So, dear students, we have studied about layers of earth. Now, we are again studying some other things like rocks and minerals. The earth crust is made up of various type of rocks. Any natural mass of mineral matter that makes up earth crust is called a rock, and rock can be different color, size and texture. So, crust is made up of different type of rock, soil and so many other geographical constituents. So, among these rocks are very important. There are mainly three types of rocks: igneous rock, sedimentary rocks and metamorphic rock. So, first come igneous rock. The central core, as we studied just before, the central core has very high temperature and pressure. So, here the rocks are in melted forms and it is called lava. Sometimes when volcano erupts, this lava comes out of the core and solidify into rocks. So, these type of rocks are called igneous rocks. You can see the image. So, dear students, we will start with igneous rock. When the molten magma cools, it becomes solid. Rocks thus formed are called igneous rocks. Igneous is Latin word which means fire, and they are also called primary rocks. So, why they are called primary rocks? We will find out the answer of this question also. There are two types of igneous rocks: extrusive igneous rocks and intrusive igneous rocks. Can you imagine lava coming out from the volcano? Lava is actually fiery red molten magma coming out from the interior of the earth on its surface. When this molten lava comes on the earth's surface, it rapidly cools down and becomes solid. Rocks formed in such a way on the crust are called extrusive igneous rocks. They have a very fine grained structure. The example of this type of rock is basalt, and in our geographical feature, the Deccan Plateau is made up of basalt rocks. So, basalt rocks are the example of igneous rocks. Now, we will study about second type of rock. Sometimes the molten magma cools down deep inside the earth crust. Molten magma cools in two ways. It cools outside the earth, it cools inside the earth. So, when it cools outside the earth, it is called extrusive igneous rocks, and when it cools inside the earth, it is called intrusive igneous rocks, and granite is the example of intrusive igneous rock. What are sedimentary rock? So, before reading sedimentary rock, we have to understand about sediment. Rocks roll down, crack and hit each other and broken into small particles. These small particles are called sediment, and when these sediments settle down, after a long time they become sedimentary rock. So, this is the example of sedimentary rock. Here you can see sediments. So, dear students, this is the example of sedimentary rocks, and as I told you before, sedimentary rocks are made up of small particles which are small particles or sediments close together, they form this type of rock. When you see, this is very important, these type of rock. What are fossils? When any tree or any animal buried inside the layers of these rocks, they become fossil, because in the absence of oxygen they petrified in a very special form, and that is called made up of grains of sand. These rocks may also contain fossils of plant, as I told you before, animals and other microorganisms that once lived on them. This is the example of sedimentary rock. which you can see. I have just shown you, you can also see in image. Sometimes, dear students, this question comes to our mind: what is the difference between sedimentary rock and igneous rock, and how can we find out that difference? So, go around you, search some stones and observe them. When you observe very closely, you will see the texture, you will see the features of those stones, and automatically you can distinguish them. Here I am going to show you the difference between sedimentary rock and igneous rock. I have these two types of rocks. When we want to differentiate between sedimentary rock and metamorphic rock, we can easily distinguish them, because in sedimentary rock you will see sediments, but in igneous rock you will not be able to see such type of sediments. They have such type of surface, smooth type of surface, and easily you can distinguish between them just by observing them. As I told you before, they are made up, igneous rocks are made up of molten, after cooling down the molten magma. So, we can easily see and we can differentiate between these two rocks. So, you can easily differentiate between these two rocks around you, and you can observe very minutely the structure and features difference between them. The third type of rocks are called metamorphic rock. Igneous and sedimentary rocks can change into metamorphic rock under the great heat and pressure. Metamorphic is a Greek word which means change of form. For example, clay changes into slate and limestone into marble. Sedimentary rock slowly changes into metamorphic rock. Now we have studied very well about three types of rock and metamorphic rock. Now we will study about uses of rock. Rocks are very useful to us. The hard rocks are used for making road, houses and building. You use stones in many games. Our historical buildings are best example of uses of rocks. You must have heard about Red Fort, or you must have seen Red Fort. It is made up of red sandstone, and red sandstone, it is the example of sedimentary rock. Many of you must have seen Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is made up of white marble, and white marble is the example of metamorphic rock. Dear students, now we are going to study about rock cycle. You will be surprised to know that one type of rock changes into another type under certain conditions in a cycle of transformation of the rock from one to another is known as the rock cycle. So, at first you will see magma. What is magma? When volcano erupts, the lava or magma came on the surface of the earth and it cools down. So, it will form igneous rock. Igneous rock rolls down, and because of different climate condition, so they become small particles, and those small particles are called, after a long period of time, solidifies by the layer and they form sediment. Sedimentary rock and sometimes igneous rock also. So, in this way this type of rock cycle generally goes on. For understanding better about the rock cycle, we will start with magma. So, you have already learnt when the molten magma cools, it solidifies to become igneous rock. These igneous rocks are broken down into small particles that are transported or deposited to form sedimentary rock. Sedimentary rocks are subjected to heat and pressure, they change into metamorphic rocks. The metamorphic rocks, which are still under great heat and pressure, melt down to form molten magma. This molten magma again can cool down and solidify into igneous rocks. So, now we will study about minerals. Rocks are made up of different minerals, substances which have certain physical properties and definite chemical composition. Minerals are very important to humankind. Some are used as fuels, for example, coal, natural gas and petroleum. They are also used in industries. Iron aluminum, gold and fertilizers. So dear student, in this chapter at first we studied about the layer of the earth. There are 3 layers of the earth, just like onion has many layers, earth has 3 main layers, mantle and core. After that we studied about rocks. There are 3 types of rocks, igneous, metamorphic rock, and we studied about uses of rock. We studied rock cycle. Now I am going to take your assessment and I am going to ask you some question related to this. So my first question is, the rock which is made up of molten are there, you have to choose one. One is correct. So which one is molten magma? Is igneous rock. So the right answer is igneous rock. First layer of the earth is, right answer is core. As I told you before, it is 3,500 kilometer thickness. It has 3,500 kilometer thickness. The oceanic crust mainly consists of, we studied about crust and thickness of crust. Silica and aluminum, and on oceanic crust it is made up of silica and magnesium. So silica and aluminum on the, and silica and magnesium on oceanic surface. Okay, choose one. Rock, sedimentary rocks. Okay. Now fifth question is, the thinnest layer of the earth is. 3 answers are there, you have to choose one right answer, and the right answer is, thinnest is crust. Dear students, now I am going to give you an activity, and that is, see the image in presentation. You have some article in our homes and some objects of our home, and you have to tell me which type, from which type of minerals are they made up of. What is the difference between mineral and you have to decide. Here you can guess metal or mineral both, to explore what is the difference between mineral and metal. Thank you very much for watching.